You know that feeling when you clean the whole house, and it still doesn't feel clean. Nothing's out of place, the floor's clear, the dishes are done, and you're still standing there feeling a little tired, like the room is asking you for something you haven't given it yet. You can't point to what it is. There's no mess to blame, no obvious job left undone, but the feeling stays anyway, quiet in the background, like a low hum you've just learned to live with. You just accept it, the way you accept traffic or a slightly too warm room, something you live around, instead of something you fix. You've gotten used to it, the same way you get used to a sound you stop hearing after a while. That's not really about mess, it's something else. There's a reason some homes feel calm the second you walk in, and others feel loud even when they're spotless. It's not the size of the house. It's not how much stuff is inside it. Environmental psychologists have a name for this. A space doesn't just hold your life. It quietly shapes how you think and feel inside it. It's what that stuff is quietly saying to you, every single day, without either of you really noticing. Many Japanese households have a habit of letting go of things most of us would never think twice about. Not because people there are extreme minimalists, not because they don't get attached to things. They do just like anyone else. It's because somewhere along the way, many people picked up a different question to ask about their belongings. Not, might I need this? Something closer to, what is this still doing to me? But by the end of this, it might not feel so strange. You'll probably look at your own home a little differently, especially the stuff in the back of your drawers. 1. The chipped mug. Everyone has one. The favorite mug, with the little crack near the handle. It still holds coffee fine, so you keep using it. You've probably reached for it 100 times without even looking at the crack anymore. It's just there, part of the routine. One well-known idea in Japanese aesthetics is wabi-sabi, finding a kind of beauty in things that are worn, aged, imperfect, but it's often misunderstood. Wabi-sabi isn't about tolerating anything broken. It's about choosing what's whole so the imperfections that remain feel intentional, not accidental. Because using something broken every day without meaning to teaches you something underneath your awareness. Psychologists call this self-signaling, the quiet way your own actions send messages to you about you. Pour your coffee into a cracked mug enough mornings in a row, and some part of you starts to believe good enough is fine, that you don't need better. It's such a small thing, but small things repeated every morning start to feel like a rule. That's often how habits form, not through big decisions, but small ones made on autopilot. And rules like that have a way of spreading quietly into other parts of your life. You wouldn't call it a big deal. Honestly, nobody would. It's just a mug. But that's exactly how standards slip, one small, unnoticed choice at a time. 2. The jeans from before, the ones from a few years back. Different body, different life. You keep them for when. Maybe you tell yourself it's motivation, something to work toward. But to be honest, when's the last time seeing them actually made you feel motivated, instead of just a little smaller? A common approach in Japanese minimalist thinking is simple: dress the person you are right now, not who you were, not who you're hoping to become on some future Monday. There's real psychology behind why this matters more than it seems. Every morning, your closet is a decision point, and decision fatigue is real. The more small, loaded choices you make before 9 a.m., the less energy you have left for the rest of your day. Those jeans turn what should I wear into what am I allowed to wear? A heavier question first thing in the morning. Because those jeans aren't really motivation. If you're honest, they're more like a quiet little insult you walk past every morning. A tiny verdict delivered before you've even had coffee, and you don't even fight back. You just quietly agree and get dressed in something else instead. No argument, just a small daily surrender you've stopped even registering as one. 3. The pile of papers. Old mail. A form you meant to fill out. A receipt for something you can't even remember buying. Here's the strange part. You don't even read it anymore, you just see it. Many Japanese households have a long-standing tradition of clearing things out before they pile up, most visible in usuji, the big year-end clean, when homes are reset before anything new is allowed in. The idea underneath it is simple. Nothing gets to sit there unresolved for long, and every time you look at that pile, your brain quietly logs it as unfinished business, even though you didn't do anything. There's a term for this too, cognitive load. Your mind keeping a running tally of things not yet decided, whether you open a single envelope or not. No decision was made, no box was checked. Just a small silent debt added to a pile that's already there. That's the real cost, not the papers themselves. The tiny tax your mind pays every time you walk by. Multiply that by every day you've owned the pile, and it adds up. 4. The gift you never wanted. Someone gave it to you with love. You don't like it. You never really did. Maybe it's a mug, or a decoration, or something you genuinely never have picked out for yourself. But it came from someone who mattered, so it stays. Many Japanese households draw a clean line here, separating the gesture from the object. The love happened the moment it was given. That already counted. What happens to the object afterward doesn't take anything away from that. There's a name for this in psychology: cognitive dissonance, a small but real conflict between how you feel and how you think you're supposed to feel. Often, the easiest way to resolve it is just to keep the object. Keeping something out of guilt isn't gratitude, it's just guilt, wearing gratitude's coat. The two feel so similar, most people never bother to tell them apart. 5. The broken thing you'll get to. A wobbly chair leg. A lamp that flickers. Nothing urgent, just always slightly wrong. You walk past it for months, maybe years, telling yourself each time that this weekend you'll finally deal with it. It never gets fixed, and somehow it never gets thrown away either. It just sits there in a kind of limbo, half useful, half forgotten. You've probably stopped even seeing it as broken. It's just become part of the furniture, quite literally, a small flaw you've learned to step around without thinking. There's a Japanese concept called matainai, a deep respect for objects, and a real discomfort with wasting them carelessly. It sounds like a reason to keep everything. It's actually the opposite. True matanai means repairing something properly, or letting it go honestly. It never meant leaving something broken indefinitely out of guilt. It taps into the same kind of cognitive load as that pile of papers. Your mind keeps registering it as unfinished, even though nothing about it has changed in months. Fix it, or let it go. It's the in-between that quietly drains you. Somewhere between broken and gone is where most of the tiredness lives. 6. The empty box you can't explain. The fancy shoebox. The shopping bag, with the nice rope handles, empty, kept anyway. It's not really about the box, it's about the feeling attached to it. The day you bought it, the version of you that felt good. In that moment walking out of that store. There's a quiet Japanese sensitivity toward the fact that things, moments, feelings are only ever temporary. Something to notice, not trap in a drawer, but a box can't hold a feeling forever. At some point, it's just cardboard, quietly reminding you of something that already happened. Keeping the box doesn't bring the feeling back. It just holds the space where the feeling used to be. We're only halfway, and the next few items get a little more personal. The kind of thing you probably haven't thought of as clutter at all. Some of these might sting a little. That's fine. Stay with it anyway. Nobody's watching you take notes. This one's just for you. 7. The extra one of everything. 2 spatulas, 3 tape measures, a drawer of nearly identical things. It feels responsible, prepared even, like you're covering yourself against some future inconvenience, but really it's often just a quiet fear of being caught without. There's a principle from Japanese work culture, kaizen, that shows up quietly at home too. Small, ongoing improvement, achieved by removing friction, not adding more tools. Applied to a kitchen drawer, the logic is simple. 1 good tool chosen and trusted beats 3 mediocre backups. That's decision fatigue in miniature. Every duplicate is one more option your brain quietly has to sort through, making it harder to find the one you actually trust. Somewhere in that drawer is the tool you'd actually pick. You already know which one it is. 8. The souvenir you feel obligated to keep out. A trinket from someone else's trip. You don't love it, you just dust around it. Every time you see it, there's a tiny flicker of guilt, not joy. Environmental psychology has a simple idea at its core. The things you surround yourself with don't just reflect how you feel, they shape it. In many Japanese homes, what's displayed is treated more like a decision remade regularly than a fixture. Earning its place once doesn't mean it keeps that place forever. And a shelf full of guilt, even in small doses, adds up to a room that doesn't quite feel like yours, piece by piece, without ever choosing it that way. 9. The box from a chapter that's over. Old letters, a hoodie that isn't really yours anymore, photos you haven't looked at in years, you know exactly where it is, even if you never open it. These aren't clutter, not in the normal sense. They're something heavier. There's a practice known in Japan as densari. Refuse, dispose, separate, 3 ideas about actively detaching from what you own. It's less about tidying, more about deciding on purpose what still gets room in your present, as long as they're in your space. Some parts of that chapter are too. Attachment doesn't need your attention to stay active. A physical reminder can keep a feeling quietly available, even one you thought you'd already worked through. Not because you're stuck, just because the door's still quietly a little open. Letting go of the object doesn't erase what happened. It just finally lets the door close, gently, the way it should have a while ago. 10. The tiny things you're saving. Hotel shampoo, sample lotions, a gift card with $4 left on it. None of it matters on its own, but each one is a decision you didn't make. There's a phrase from Japanese tea ceremony tradition, ichigo ichi, roughly one time, one meeting. The idea that a moment is only ever itself once. Holding onto a piece of it afterward usually cheapens it instead of preserving it. And a drawer full of small, undecided things feels a lot like a mindful of them too. That's cognitive load again. Just wearing a smaller, quieter costume, just a quiet kind of clutter, sitting exactly where you can't see it. 11. The drawer of mystery cables. You could not tell me what half of them are for. You keep them anyway. It's not really about the cables. It's a what if I need it someday kind of fear, just given a physical form. This is where Matanai actually argues against you, not for you. Keeping something you'll never use isn't respect. It's avoidance, dressed up as caution. Coiled up in a drawer, tangled the same way the worry itself feels. And most of the time, that day never comes. But the drawer stays anyway, just in case it ever does. 12. The books you'll never read. The stack on the nightstand, aspirational, untouched. There's a specific word in Japanese for this, sundoku, buying books and letting them pile up unread. It's often talked about with more wry humor than real guilt. But be honest with yourself for a second. That stack isn't knowledge. Psychologically, it's closer to identity than information. A stand-in for the version of you who reads more, knows more, is further along. It's a small, nightly reminder that you're not quite the person you meant to be yet. The very last thing you see before turning off the light. Not exactly the peaceful ending you were hoping for. And this is where it gets interesting. None of these things are actually about the object. The cracked mug isn't about the mug. The jeans aren't about the jeans. Every single item on this list is really just a stand-in for a decision you haven't made yet, about who you are, about what you're allowed to let go of, and what you're still quietly carrying without meaning to. Objects don't ask questions out loud. That's what makes them so easy to ignore. They just wait, patiently, quietly, for years if they have to. But you feel the weight of them anyway, even when you can't name it. That's attention. Quietly tracking loose ends, whether you've noticed them or not. And once you notice one of them, it's strangely hard to unnotice. 13. The half-finished hobby. The guitar in the corner. The craft supplies from a project you started with real excitement. It's not really sitting there neutrally. Every time you pass it, some part of you registers a small, quiet accusation. You were going to do this. There's a quiet mismatch here between the identity you've claimed, I'm someone who plays guitar, and the actual behavior gathering dust in the corner. Most people avoid noticing the gap. If it's real, you'll make time for it this week. And if it's not, that's allowed too. Wanting something once doesn't mean you owe it forever. Interests come and go. That's not failure. That's just being a person. 14. Work. Sitting beside the bed. A laptop on the nightstand. Just for tonight, which somehow becomes every night. One idea often associated with Japanese living spaces is keeping a room's purpose clear. A space for sleep meant for sleep without much else layered into it. Just one, nothing else is allowed to compete with it. Rest, because when the last thing you see before sleep is a symbol of work. Not a book, not a person, not silence, just work. Some part of your brain never fully clocks out. This reflects environmental conditioning. Mix work and rest in the same four walls long enough and the room stops meaning either one clearly. You're resting, technically, but not really. Some quiet part of you is still on standby waiting. And you wonder why you wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. 15. The room that's never quiet. Not one object this time, all of them, together, every single one, adding its own small weight to the room. Every surface holding something, asking something. In Japanese design, there's a concept known as ma, the intentional use of empty space, treated not as absence, but as something with its own value, just breathing room. Most homes forget to leave for themselves. Visual clutter keeps your attention in a low-level state of scanning, even when you're technically resting. Your eyes never fully stop working, so your mind never fully does either. A room that lets you actually land in it, instead of scanning it the second you walk through the door. Most people have never actually felt that, not because it's rare, but because so few rooms get the chance. Yours could be one of them, if you let it. None of these 15 things look dangerous. A stranger walking through your home wouldn't even notice most of them. That's exactly why they work. They don't announce themselves. They just sit there, asking the same small question over and over until you stop noticing you're even being asked. Is this still true about me, or is it just something I never got around to deciding? Maybe that's really what a home is, not a container for your things, a quiet, ongoing record of every decision you've made and every one you've been avoiding, not written anywhere, just held quietly. quietly in whatever you've chosen to keep around you. And the strange part is, you don't need anyone else to read that record. You already know it, somewhere underneath the noticing. You knew it before this video even started. You just didn't have the words for it yet. You don't have to fix your whole house tonight. Honestly, don't. That's not what this was ever about. Just notice one thing, one object you already thought of while watching this, and sit with why it's still there. That's enough for today. If this is the kind of thing that stays with you after the video ends, that's kind of the whole point of this channel. We look at the quiet, ordinary parts of life that most people scroll past. So if you want the next one to find you, subscribe. It costs nothing and it means a lot. We'll keep going, room by room. There's one part of the home we didn't even touch here. The one place most people never think to declutter at all. Your phone, the one you're probably holding, or sitting right next to, this exact second, same rules, same quiet wait. Just a different kind of room, more visited, more relied on, more full than any drawer in your house. Maybe the most cluttered room in your home isn't a room at all.